for this Hera Venture Summit extension of the discussion about female angel investors. So we are so honored to have Suzanne Andrews on the line, and she is one of the founding partners and founding angels of Wingpact, which is a female angel group up in Northern California, around the Palo Alto area. And I had the pleasure of meeting Suzanne at the Angel Capital Association Summit this summer, and we just kind of hit it off right away. And she really feels really strongly on making an impact in this world through her angel investing. She started off through having a boot camp through Pipeline Angels, and just got a really great start on that, and now has created a really vibrant group of ladies who really make an impact in the startup ecosystem in Northern California. And I'm just honored to have her on board here today, and I'm going to pass it on to you, Suzanne, to kind of expand on what Wingpact is and how you feel that you're making this impact in the ecosystem.
Thank you so much, Sylvia. I'm so happy to be here. Can you tell me, do we have some more people online with us now, or?
I don't know. I'm going to check the Google Hangout, and the Renee Zhao just joined the video call, so that was great. Say hi, Renee, and other people might be coming in. I'm going to check the Facebook page as you are talking and introducing yourself, or if you want to have a conversation with Renee, and then I will kind of be coming back and forth.
I'm just wondering if you want to wait a couple of minutes and see if we get a few more people.
Yeah, that's fine. Maybe. And I'm gonna troll Facebook, and maybe you and Renee can have a conversation and see if anybody's stuck. Okay?
Okay. Hi, Renee. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing well, thanks.
How are you connected to Hera, the Hera organization?
I have been a member at Hera Hub since they opened 4 years ago.
Oh, fabulous!
So I'm connected to Felina. I see Sylvia at the office a lot. And just all sorts of ways. I've been attending all sorts of the women's startup events too, both at Hera Hub, and I guess the ones that Felina and Sylvia have been involved with.
Mm-hmm. So, are you an entrepreneur?
I am, yes. I have a startup called Donation Match that connects event coordinators with companies that provide prizes for auctions, raffles, and gift bags.
Oh, wow.
So we're really streamlining the in-kind donation process. It's one of those behind-the-scenes issues that until you're involved with an event, don't necessarily realize that gigantic problem.
I feel like I've heard of it. Have you pitched up here, maybe at the Women's Startup Lab?
When you say up here, is that Silicon Valley?
Bay Area? San Francisco Bay Area?
No, I haven't actually.
Oh, okay. I feel like I've heard of your company.
Yeah. Well, it's possible that an organization you are involved with may have used us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We've worked with maybe 8,500 organizations nationwide.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And then also she's pitching at the first ever San Diego cohort Pipeline Angels pitch session on Saturday. So maybe you have learned about Renee and donation like that, but that's one of the things that Hera Labs and Hera Fund does, is basically let other angel groups know, hey, we have great entrepreneurs here in San Diego, and Renee is one of them, and Renee really fits with that impact aspect of Pipeline Angels and having that social good aspect of a for-profit entity. So really interesting, and so yeah, maybe that's how you knew about Renee.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So are you involved with Pipeline Angels also?
Well, I did the Pipeline boot camp a couple of years ago, and that's sort of how I got involved in angel investing, and then that's how actually my Wingpact partners, there's 6 of us total, we were all classmates in Pipeline, and so then we decided to move ahead and work on more projects together. What do you see, Sylvia? Do you think we should get started with the 3 of us?
I think so. I have not heard, and I've been trying to I went on Hera Fund Facebook. I went to the event, and I went to the Google Plus page. No questions. I've sent the link for the live video that we have right now going on, and nobody has any comments or questions or anything like that. So I think we should just start, even if it's the three of us, and have some great conversation, because this will be broadcast on YouTube. So let's get some great conversation going, and some great tips, or whatever we want to kind of go down this path, and make sure that there's something robust to be able to share with others.
Okay, that sounds like a great plan. Mm-hmm. So I will then go more into my formalized agenda. And also, again, thank you, Sylvia, for having me. It's been such a pleasure getting to know you and all your amazing work in San Diego, not just Hera Fund, but Hera Labs and Hera Hub, and you just really almost single-handedly building a whole ecosystem down there. So it's impressive, and it's wonderful to see. And today is Women's Entrepreneurship Day. So
that is true. I am going off to give a keynote in about 2 hours for our first ever Women's Entrepreneurship Day Summit here in San Diego. So very excited about that. Yeah. And we should talk about entrepreneurs and enjoy them.
It's great that we get to have this session today. So, like I said, Renee, I'm Suzanne Andrews. I'm founding partner of Wingpact. Wingpact is committed to unleashing women's capital, to inspiring women to bring their capital to projects that they care about. And we've started by focusing on inspiring more women to become angel investors. Women have a lot of capital, but we don't use it toward our projects as actively. I mean, we volunteer, we work really hard for projects that we care about, but we believe that women's capital is the missing piece toward bringing women into full ability to participate in creating the future. So our first project is, we wrote a book after the Pipeline Fellowship. The book is with the publisher right now. It's the first book for women about angel investing, and it tells our stories and our perspectives on why women should consider this fun and powerful activity. And in particular, my passion that I write about in the book is my excitement around women building their own ecosystem right now, and how we want to build it mindfully to make sure we end up with what we have. So that's me. The discussion today that Sylvia and I planned is entitled Females Funding Females, What Are the Resources and What More is Needed? And I guess we don't need to do more intros because we've all done that already, unless you see more people have joined. And so I actually led a discussion similar to this last week. We had our first Wingpact luncheon, and I'm excited to lead a series of discussions, bringing women's wisdom to this topic of where are we going, and where do we want to be going. And so I will, after this session, write up an article about it, and we'll push it out through channels so that our insights can be shared and other women can kind of build off them as the discussions continue. So I don't know, since it's just the three of us, I don't know in particular if you have any comments just to that broad topic, but my plan was to sort of start with a question about, for you, Renee, as an entrepreneur, and you're deep into the ecosystem in San Diego, which is great, what's working for you? Where do you feel well supported? And where are some holes that you could really use more resources?
So, I myself have, like I mentioned, been a member at Hera Hub since I started, and I definitely feel supported there, which is why I've stayed for over 4 years. Communities like that, where you not just join online but actually have physical space, are very helpful and can meet face-to-face. That is something that was missing before they started. I think, I've also been through some incubators or accelerators, and those were instrumental in our really figuring out our business model and essentially, what can actually work as a sustainable business. I feel like, I feel like once you leave those, though, you do kind of get dropped into a hole of what's next. And I know that some people from the 2 programs that I graduated from have gone on to possibly Y Combinator or others like that. But I also know that those tend to, those are not in every city. They tend to not be as flexible in terms of doing it from where you may have a family. That you can't just up and move for 6 months, and I think that's part of the difficulty and a lot of the reason why I don't feel like I can apply to some of those. There actually was one called Merge Lane that was very interesting to me, although the types of companies that they ultimately picked were not really a good fit, I guess. They were looking for different types of companies, more consumer-oriented ones. But I was very encouraged to see them show up. I feel like, a program like what they were offering, though, that allowed you to, you did have to be there at the very beginning for a week and then at the end as well, but it was a doable, period of time to travel while still being able to maintain, somewhat, being around for your kids if you have any, and I do. So something, having more programs like that where you do recognize that some people just can't leave where they are for months at a time would be helpful. That, and I think too, there are some larger venture groups whose events I've attended, and I still feel somewhat out of place at those, being female. So I feel like, I love what you're doing. I love what Hera Labs is doing. I feel like if we can affect a better integration in some of those other existing groups, that would be wonderful. So yeah, those are some of the needs I feel like I have. Maybe even a way to enlighten or communicate with more established groups about the fact that women feel, I don't know, it's not that they're purposely excluding us. I have a feeling they're not aware. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. I think there was a lot of meat in that response. Let me see if I heard what you said. So you participated in the accelerator at Hera, right?
Actually, it's not the Hera Labs Accelerator. I actually participated in the Founder Institute and Startup Leadership Program. So those are 2 others.
Actually, I'm not as familiar with all the different variations of what you guys have there at Hera. Do you have an accelerator, or do you not really call it that, or?
Thanks for asking. Yeah, no, we, let me just get this. We have an accelerator at Hera Labs, and what we've done in the past is have smaller sections of labs, and going after what Renee has just said is that women in this local ecosystem need to stay with their families and their kids. So we don't have something that is like 3 months long, 6 months long as of now, right? So we have done smaller 6-hour labs, idea potential labs. We've done strategy sessions, marketing labs, video labs, social media labs. And then right now we got the SBA funding for this year, which is the SBA Accelerator Fund money, that's just $50,000 for the year, and we are expanding that right now, saying, hey, you know what, we've done this for 2 years now, it's worked really good, but we really need to do a 3-month program, because we've found out that we've always done a program, and then we've done accountability groups for about 3 months to 6 months, and that really works really, really well, because a lot of accelerators do their program and then they leave, and they don't give that accountability. So we do that longer period. So we are now starting off 2 accelerator programs starting in December. We were trying to get all the applications in by December. It's the Launch Accelerator and the Scale and Accelerator. So, but what Renee is talking about are 2 other accelerators here in San Diego, because we have a lot of different types of accelerators. One is Startup Leadership. It is another organization outside of Hera, and they are a global accelerator program. And Founders Institute is also a global accelerator program. They're both different types of ways of going through the program, of how much equity you give away, and what are the mentorship components to those accelerators. So kind of giving you that kind of background of all of those.
So you did those programs, and then, like you said, it's kind of like you finish a program, and then where do you go, right? But then you found Hera kind of as a home for when you weren't going to, it sounds like some people maybe go from accelerator to accelerator, but for you to sort of find that home was comforting and, and encouraging. Yeah.
Exactly. In fact, I had found Hera Hub before I started those accelerators, but it was a great place to come back to because of the ongoing support that you receive.
Hold on. Taking notes. I know Sylvia might be taking notes too, but
Yes, I am.
so Sylvia, that's interesting that you guys have sort of created a menu almost of of types of topics that an accelerator would have, and then women can pick and choose according to their schedule and their needs. So that's kind of a different model, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, and that's why we've done that model so far for the last about 2 to 3 years, is having these small nitty-gritty little components. The Idea Potential Lab actually is our signature one that goes for 16 hours. We go from only an idea to actually having a pitch deck in 16 hours. And the pitch deck is not ready for investors, but it's actually a pitch deck to say yes or no. And really, those women who go through that, they don't have to go months and months and months and months trying to figure out what their idea is and how validated it is. They can just get this over with. And but then our accelerator programs that we're launching this year, it's more mentors and instructors that are part of the Hera Hub community that are giving of their valuable information to these ladies.
Yeah. And so then another need that Renee talked about is just the need for distance programs, especially for moms. And we have one that we know about, but you're kind of looking around like you would do one if there was one that that fit with your business model or that you got accepted at. And then another thing actually that you mentioned is that, and I'm interested in hearing more about this, is that you do go around to some venture groups, but you feel out of place at those. Like, what are you looking for there? Are they sort of funding networking events, or tell me more about that.
I go to those simply for networking and to establish relationships. And even at that fairly superficial level, when you're just meeting somebody, I just get the feeling sometimes when you walk in that, it's, I hate to call it, one of those old boys clubs, but that is the feeling you get, unfortunately, because of the demographics. And I don't know what Sylvia's experience has been at any of those, but and they do, I tend to go by way of our attorney that invites us. Startups are more than welcome. They love having us there. It's just that, it may just be more of a social reason that men I don't know. I hate being so stereotypical about it, though, because there's
Well, you're talking about your experience when you walk in the room, you know,
yeah,
which is
exactly.
you walk in the room and you feel like, do I belong here? You know, I mean,
Right.
yes, they invited me, but do I really belong, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
Exactly.
and those are like networking events for investors or angel investors and venture capitalists.
I'm sorry.
Those are networking events for angel investors and venture
Typically, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What stage is your company in? Are you fundraising or?
So we have been bootstrapped until now, and we are fundraising. Yes. Actually, the Pipeline Angels pitch will be the first.
Oh, great.
We have not formally fundraised before, simply friends and family up to this point. But this year we actually did finally gain traction as well as really hit our stride in terms of seeing consistent, KPIs in terms of this is actually going in the right direction consistently with very little effort, honestly. We've had a variety of reasons to not be able to focus as much on certain parts, and it's just been going well. So I think we finally realized that in order to continue our momentum, we do need to fundraise. And
yeah, well, congratulations, because it sounds like you have good traction.
Thank you.
And I hope you guys enjoy the pipeline pitch. My friend Jackie Gutierrez is going to pitch also. Do you know Jackie?
Jackie. No, I don't think so.
Sylvia said that, or Jackie said she knew of Sylvia, had met her. So anyway,
Okay,
say hi to her. Do you have anything to add to this, Sylvia, about sort of the needs that are covered in your area or nationally versus the holes that you see, this particular holes that you see for women?
Yeah, one of the things that we see, I can talk on and on about this, and that's why we're trying to be as nimble as possible at Hera Labs, is that a lot of emphasis is taken on tech and biotech companies, and that's where all the acceleration is happening. Either that, they give them $10,000 or $50,000, they get incubated, they get lots of great mentors, and then the accelerator gets some equity, and then they get fundraised, and then they go and exit, and they do a great job. Which there's nothing wrong with tech and biotech. Of course, we definitely need more ladies in that area, anyways. So I'm all for it. Don't get me wrong on that aspect of it. Yeah. But one of the things that we see is that there's not enough help and support for ladies who want to launch a business that's not tech and not biotech, and being seen as, let's say, not just a lifestyle business, because some of them are not lifestyle business, some of them are. I mean, you have the whole rainbow of different types of businesses. However, they don't have any place to go.
Is that true across the board for all genders, or particularly women?
I think all genders. I think that there's a lack of that. I think the SBA does a good job. I think sometimes the SCORE, if you're there in your area, do an okay job as well. But those are just not enough. And I think that SBA is doing a great job of saying, hey, we can't do it all. We need these local accelerators that look at either industry-specific acceleration or, let's say, women-specific acceleration, and help them do their job really, really well. I think they have a great thought process in that aspect of giving to those accelerators some operational funding to be able to do what they're doing. So it's good, and that's why I think that's the lack that's out there, is that those ladies that are starting their businesses, they don't have any place to go.
Yeah, because they're just probably. I mean, I think we know statistically that when women start businesses, they are not as likely to be in tech and biotech. So that lack, even though it's true for all genders, is going to disproportionately affect women entrepreneurs.
Yes. So, and that's one thing. And then the other thing is the incubation spaces that are out there, like co-working spaces, are historically and predominantly either tech or they're all skinny jean type of people. So women don't feel very
skinny jean
type of people.
What does that mean?
like, you know, younger generation that are all hip and awesome and doing great things, and then a woman who comes in who wants to um, um, make bracelets. They're not seen as like this
Yeah.
hipster type of person, and they don't feel very comfortable. So that's why Felina Hansen, you know, created Hera Hub, and the co-working space for women to feel comfortable and spa-inspired. We don't only have women as members, we have men that love our locations and feel very prosperous and professional in those locations. And that's why we created them, is to have that kind of other aspect of that professionalism. So those are the two things that I see. The other thing I see is that if we're talking the VC world and going outside of angel investing, it's even worse. You know, there's not enough VCs who are women. And so even if there is, let's go back to tech and biotech ladies, if they've survived the angel round, or if they've survived a little bit longer, they're going to go into the VC world trying to get even more funding, and they're going to find more guys there and not getting funded. It's 4% of VCs are female, so the equal amount in the single digits are those companies that are led by women get funded. Pattern recognition there, a little bit there. So I see that that's also a hole in this ecosystem of funding per se. And then the one more thing, and I forgot my train of thought on that, but oh yeah, the mentorship models. So let's say like there's not enough women CEOs that have made it, who have gone public and been able to give back to the startup ecosystem. We're not quite there yet. We're doing great strides, and there's a lot of momentum towards that. But let's say like somebody like Renee, when she makes it huge, she's going to give back. You know what I mean? And I mean, she's already huge, but I'm saying even huger, and really be that successful businesswoman and startup success story. It's going to be great for that new generation to be able to talk to her and see, yes, I can do it. So that's another hole that I see, is that we don't have enough mentors or examples for us as entrepreneurs to be able to know that we can do it.
It looks like we have somebody who's joined us. Do you want to say hi?
Yes.
Introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Remy. I've actually been on the whole time, but I had a bad connection.
Oh, okay. Well, welcome. So did you hear the beginning of our discussion, or?
I did. I was actually, don't tell anybody and don't yell at me, but I was driving to USD, so I was just listening.
Oh, great. Well, I just wanted to know, if we should catch.
I did. I've heard it all except for once or twice it connected out, but I'm here now. I've been enjoying it, and you guys are really touching on some key issues, or holes that I'm experiencing and that I'm seeing as well. And
are you an entrepreneur?
I am, and I am a bootstrapping startup, and I'm a member of Hera Hub, and I'm also in the current SLP program, the current class in that, and I can, like Renee, I mean, the learning that I'm getting from these programs and from being, at Hera Hub and being a part of that and having, I guess, that mentorship aspect to it is tremendous. Like, I think in the 5th class of SLP, and the fact that like I now I'm in sales. I've always been in sales and marketing and corporate, so I know how to do sales presentations. But now putting a pitch deck together, I mean, that's a whole different animal, right? And learning the language, and to an investor, and what you need to know. I think what I'm seeing though, not only from my own experience, but also being in the small business women's entrepreneurship community, that there's a lack of, I guess, maybe offerings or maybe mentorship on the finance side of things. Like, I see women have great ideas or even have businesses, but they're really lacking that financial expertise of what you need to know in order to get in front of investors, right? Like, just some more of that type of education and training, or the strategy aspect. And I think also in the pitch deck part of it is, I get that you need to have different slides, and depending on who your audience is and what the message is, but maybe some, like, okay, for your 5-minute pitch, you need to have these particular slides, for a 10-minute pitch, just kind of like the strategy and methodology behind it, and so that you can refine your message accordingly.
So when you're talking about wanting more information or mentoring around strategy, are you talking about fundraising strategy in particular, or business strategy?
Yeah, no, I think on the fundraising aspect of it, for me, my knowledge gaps are really on the finance and operations side of it. And like, I just talked to my CFO yesterday and went through the pitch deck, what I have, and she's like, what you're missing now is you put together your revenue model, but you're missing the slides that are going to be able to articulate your growth and connecting the dots, to the market. But that's just a knowledge gap that I have in terms of knowing how to do that appropriately. So more on that side of it. But I agree with Sylvia. I think that I came from a very well-funded high tech or clean tech startup, but as an employee, and I saw it out of Silicon Valley, so I did see kind of like that. I hate to say like what she's saying, but that good old boy network, like, it's a very male-dominated world, and wishing that there was more mentorship, because I know some very successful business women, but it feels like everybody's so busy and time-starved that they can't give back in that way to mentor the others that are coming up. And it's really, you want that person that has been there, done that, and can just share, and, you can be more efficient with your time. I get, in some cases, you need to learn and go through it, but a lot of times, like, okay, just tell me, just show me.
Yeah, I could see how it's possible that there's just more women entrepreneurs that need mentoring in comparison to the number of available women mentors, and then considering that those women are likely mothers or balancing more responsibilities than their male counterparts, that I could see how there could just be a shortage, even though everybody's doing as much as they can. That's interesting. All right, so you're in a similar stage as Renee, where you're beginning to look at fundraising beyond bootstrapping, kind of. You're in early stages of that.
Definitely, and my situation, I had a very well-paying job and was using my paycheck to fund it, but that startup actually went down last year. So then it really forces you to revamp and then do the friends and family round. I feel like there's still like from an option perspective, besides friends and family, then it's like only like the microloan places to go to.
Well, that's interesting. That's another topic that I'm very interested in, is sort of, aside from this equity funding space, not all businesses are appropriate for equity funding, and then there's microloans, right? That's totally the other end. But then there's a whole set of businesses in between that I understand it's very difficult to get loans, small business loans, especially if you're, a woman or a member of an underrepresented group. And so that's the side project that I have. I'll just, interject because you made me think of it, that I'm interested in looking at new models, like other ways that women can fund each other besides through equity funding.
Well, one thing that I was just reading recently is that, and it's pretty much not well known, but there's a lot of articles on it, is that crowdfunding for women is they're more successful in crowdfunding than males, and even the tech women are more successful in fundraising on Kickstarter than their male counterparts. So that crowdfunding aspect of funding yourself might be something that's a segue into validating yourself a little bit more as a woman to be able to go to an angel investor or crowdfund and then go get a loan. So I love how you say, Suzanne, it's like, how do you find those options that might be better for women? And there might be a different process that they have to go through than the traditional, let's say, like bootstrap to angel to this. Maybe it's like bootstrap to crowdfunding something. And then, of course, all the wonderful minds on the call right now are probably thinking, well, not all companies can be crowdfunded. So those kinds of conversations are really fun to have.
Well, I do think that, of the range of needs, crowdfunding probably fits some of them. And I also just have a feeling, and I haven't learned a lot about it, that there's many other opportunities to innovate on funding models. So, yeah. Have either of you two women looked at crowdfunding for your companies? I think there's pros and cons, to be honest, and I'm not saying you should be looking at it,
I feel like I need some advice from Sylvia or you, like in terms of, I've heard different, like some people like, oh, no, we don't want companies that do that, and other people like, have you done that yet? Like, I don't know. I'm at that point now of researching because of, what's that next step?
Yeah.
Step in before,
Yeah.
I've considered it, but I've looked at it. Even what we do touches a very specific population of people, and a lot of people, honestly, I think, like I mentioned before, it's a very behind-the-scenes issue we're solving. The general population doesn't necessarily recognize what we, why what we do is even necessary.
So it might not be a compelling crowdfunding play.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, yes. I see it from, if we can find the right audience for it, potentially. But then I've also thought that if we were to do that, how do we balance that with the fact that many of the same people who might be willing to fund us through a crowdfunding campaign also be our customers, and not really sure how to not cannibalize one with the other.
Oh, I see. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, that might even be a topic for another discussion sometime in depth, sort of on the pros and cons, because I think crowdfunding is kind of put out there as a solution in some cases, and I just don't know if there's, I've just heard that it's a ton of work. Right? So maybe for not a ton of money, and I'm not really sure. It'd be great. I'm interested to hear a lot of entrepreneurs' experience with that. That's one thing. So are you two women having luck finding angels? Either male angels, female angels? How is that search going? The reason I ask is because sometimes I hear women entrepreneurs say, well, I really love to be funded by women angels, but I can't find any.
yeah, go ahead, Suzanne.
Oh no, I was just going to say I'm so early on, and honestly, I've been very distracted by the fact that we are completely rebuilding our platform right now, out of necessity as well as, well, we were forced into it essentially, but it's a good thing. So because of that, I have not had the time to do as much research, but I can say that I have not been, I don't just happen to come across female angels on a daily basis like I do males. So.
Oh, okay. So yeah, basically what you can say is you haven't done a ton of looking, but there's just a lot of men in your just in the environment, a lot of male funders in your environment that you don't happen to come across. Because actually there was a statistic last year, 2014, the statistic was that 25% of angels are women. Oh. So if that's true in San Diego, then, if you're sort of running across angels, then you should run across 25% of them women. Is that your experience?
No.
Yeah, not at all. So, where are they?
No,
not at all. Yeah, I'm too early for that. I'm in the getting ready phase, to go. But because of where I've been the last 7 years, I feel like I have a good network and connection base to angels and VCs. It's more me being prepared to be in front of them. But definitely on the women's side, no, not nowhere near.
Yeah.
I feel like we're relying on our guardian angels, Sylvia, who's paving the way for everybody to guide us.
Yeah, Sylvia, do you have any comments at this point?
You know, in San Diego, we have not found 20% that I've seen. I think that there's a lot of private investment going on, individual by individual, in San Diego, because I've been involved in some of the deals here, the larger deals, and I do see some ladies that I don't know, and I'm like, interesting. So that's one thing that I've seen, is that there is a group that does angel investing. There's a huge philanthropy group here in San Diego, and those are the conversations that I'm having, is that, hey, the budget that you're putting out for philanthropy, could you give 5% of that philanthropy budget to female entrepreneurs? Isn't that a social good? Isn't that social impact? So I'm having conversations like that with some of the ladies to kind of get them to switch over, be converts, but then they're like, well, tax implications and all that, so that's a whole other ball of wax. And my goal is just to increase the number of angel investors here in San Diego. So I'm trying to get them out of the woodwork.
Sylvia, do you know how often women do philanthropy compared to men? You know, like I know the statistics around angel investing, that we're still very underrepresented, but I'm wondering if that's true in philanthropy also.
I don't know. I know that in philanthropy, women do more of it than men. So that is something that, I mean, I don't know what the numbers are, but that's what I've seen, you know, that women do it more.
Sylvia, do you think it's a lack of awareness or about investing in doing angel investing, or their perception, or?
I don't know. You know, I think that part of it is not knowing how to angel invest. Even the people who came into Pipeline Angels for this, I'm the San Diego cohort of Pipeline Angels right now, because I wanted to be part of that initial cohort, go through the program, see how it really is, and really get those ladies together. And all of them don't have any clue about what angel investing is. They are interested, and they want to be active in angel investors, but they feel a little bit not ready to become that angel investor. So I don't think they've ever had that conversation. Why? I really can't say why not. I know that in the Pipeline Angels cohort that we had about probably like 50 ladies in the room from different areas in the United States. It's more of confidence. It's more of saying, well, my husband has done a lot of the investment, I can't, or he's done it and we have to do this together, but I have to do it by myself and I'm scared. Even at the end, it was like all of us really had to say, we are angel investors. Yes, we are. Like, we can do this and we can do the due diligence. And that took a while for us to even be there. So that confidence that even entrepreneurs need to ramp up, angel investors on the other side who are the aspiring angels investors, female-wise, they have to also increase their confidence to be saying, I can be an angel investor, and be confident in, yes, I can do due diligence. Yes, I do know my financials. Yes, I do know what the tax implications are. I am equipped to do this. So I think that when an entrepreneur has that type of philosophy, it might be easier for them to have conversations with that female angel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, interesting.
So can I just add that I think that would be actually very interesting. I had, obviously have never been in that position of being at that type of that summit or the conference that you went to, Sylvia, regarding teaching women how to be angel investors, and I think it actually would help me to know some of the concerns that they have when they're coming into the same meeting. So, any insights and really how to relate. What can we do to, as the entrepreneur, to make the angels feel better about us?
Well, I think the number one thing that I've seen across the board is angel investor, male or female, is going to bet on the jockey more than the product. And we've heard that 1,000 times, but I can't tell you enough how that is really one of the defining aspects of angel investing. And I think for a woman angel investor, it's even more, because she is very nurturing, she is very relational, she is very much like she wants to help you. That's why she's doing this angel investment thing, because literally she has to know she's going to take that money and dump it down the toilet. Yeah. So if she at least has a relationship with you and she loves you of what you're trying to do, that's actually pretty good. Like, have her go out to coffee with you and have a conversation about your kids and your values and your vision of just life in general. I think that would kind of decrease their risk to be able to invest in you. So that's one thing, is like really knowing that they're going to be betting more on the jockey, even more as female angel investors. And the second thing is, how do you de-risk her like worrisome nature of investing in you? So you want to say, I want to talk to her, I want to give her all the information that she wants, I'm going to talk to her a lot about where I'm going, what my vision is, and all that, so that I can de-risk her somehow.
Perfect. Thank you.
And it's about building relationships and networking, and I think when you build relationships over time with people in the ecosystem and women investors, that that's helpful ultimately when you're ready to get people to sign checks. So I think Sylvia's right. Sylvia, I want to be sensitive to your time.
Thank you. Yes.
You can feel free to exit whenever you're ready. Sylvia,
I will see you, Remy, down there at the Women Entrepreneurship Day Summit. I'm keynoting in.
Yes. You better hurry.
Yes, I am hurrying down there. So happy Women Entrepreneurship Day. This week actually was on Tuesday, was Investor Day. So yay, investors. Suzanne, congratulations. And I'm just really happy that we had this conversation during this week. And again, we have the conversation coming up next month as well. So no, every single 19th, or if it's on a weekend, other times, we will always have this discussion. So I will let Suzanne finish out the last 15 minutes. I love you, Suzanne. Thank you so much for your wisdom and for your collaboration with Hera Fund, and just helping your ecosystem grow. Thank you so much for all that you do. So we'll see you guys.
You're so welcome. It's been a joy, and good luck on your keynote.
Thank you.
Can't wait to hear about that.
Yay! Thanks.
Remy, are you also going, or you have a little more time?
No, I'm already here though in the parking lot, so
okay.
I have time. I'm here. I don't have to deal with traffic.
Okay, good. I mean, do you women have more comments on what we've been talking about, or do you want me to kind of introduce a new question? Where are we at?
I have a question.
Sure.
Especially because we're putting all these projections and performance together. When typically, is there a kind of a rule of thumb on what angels like to see in terms of growth year over year, or
well,
or does it depend? It just depends on.
Well, okay. So there's a couple of factors. Every pitch seems to have this hockey stick slide, right? Do you know what I mean? Where the growth is sort of going, it's like going up slowly, and then in a couple of years it just goes way up, So I'm often suspicious, because I feel like there is a format of how pitches are supposed to look. So people they just get in a hockey stick slide however they can, whether it's revenue, whether it's customer acquisition of non-paying customers. I mean, whatever it is, they stick a hockey stick slide in there,
Yeah.
But investors, equity investors, are looking for high growth, because we need at least a 10x. We need the possibility of at least a 10x, preferably a 20x return, because if we make 10 investments, really only one of them is going to really fly. Some of them will completely die. Some of them we might just get our money back. Some of them we might get 2x. But angels are really looking for the possibility of that high growth. I mean, usually angels don't see any money for 5 to 7 years, so there's some time for it to happen. But whether we so then that high growth, but really it's not so much the growth or the revenue that's the ultimate number for investors. It's what the valuation is going to be and what their ownership is going to be at the time of that liquidity event. So, if someone's doing thorough due diligence, we do look at all those same financials that you're talking about, and you can figure out market size and projected growth, and you can look at like comparable exits that have happened and figure out, based on all those numbers, what the company's probably going to be worth, and then figure out what your ownership is and figure out, if it's a. So I don't know if that helps your question.
No, that does. That does. In terms of, I guess the key is being able to articulate it.
Being able to articulate the growth?
Right. For me, that's, like I said, that's a knowledge gap for me, and especially because what we're doing is a little pioneering, in a certain space. And, like, you don't know. Like, I know you don't know what you don't know. So we're clear on where the revenue is going to come from initially. We know that there's this bigger space because we're going to create some things that aren't there yet, and so you don't know. Like you don't know how to project that or even go there because so much is going to happen before then. Do
you want to say what your company is?
Oh yeah, I have no problem. So we're creating a platform that is going to bridge the gap between self-improvement experts and consumers who need their products and services, like in the self-help world. And the problem that the experts have is that they are their current revenue model is trading time for money and looking for more clients, or people to buy their books and services, but they need more marketing and PR support. So we're creating a digital media news platform initially, that give them that exposure aspect, but where we want to go with it is then move into like a live streaming or online education component. And on the consumer side, because I've been deeply entrenched in this whole industry as a consumer for a very long time, the challenge that is people are time starved, programs and all of these things cost a lot of, they cost money, and depending on your problem, you need a different expert. So and then you have, when you take even the privacy and their shame and certain, people that won't go work on certain issues because of concern about that or thinking it doesn't work. So it's kind of addressing some certain holes in the industry, and we're targeting millennial, Gen X, and U.S. Latinos because the younger audience in the Hispanic market has been largely ignored for the last 20 years in this space. So there's just a huge opportunity, and the people that are who we consider our competitors or where we would play in would be Oprah or Gaiam TV, but they've been older, more middle-aged, affluent, and there's just this huge space and opportunity to capture an audience that they're not targeting, frankly, and reaching. So
that sounds pretty interesting. So you're connecting consumers of self-help products with providers, helping consumers find the right resources for them, and also providing some new delivery possibilities.
Content, right?
Yeah,
content or curriculum.
Some new ways to receive those resources that are maybe more appropriate for this day and age or whatever. Yeah, so I mean, obviously there's a market size of self-help now, and then there's there'll be a fair amount of guesswork as to what size of that market.
Right.
Right.
From a social impact perspective, I mean, what the driver is for me behind this is that, you know, antidepressant usage is at an all-time high, but yet suicide rate is up 30% with adults, and you know, school shootings and workplace bullying and violence and all of that kind of stuff. And so what's clearly happening is that people have coping challenges with life problems.
Yeah.
And so, and I can speak to this personally because I was one of those 30 million people hooked on antidepressants.
Mm-hmm.
And I kicked my habit, and the way I did that was by investing in me and
Mm-hmm.
the industry.
Mm-hmm.
And what I found in all my work, you know, over the last 10 years is that a lot of people, it's just they lack the resources, there's a lack of awareness, and then you have the shame, you know, cultural aspect of it as well. Like, you don't go do that, that it's just not acceptable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so it's you know, filling that void and finding a way to make this type of education and training available to the masses, and making it either free or low cost and, you know,
Mm-hmm.
accessible.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing you do in your business planning and in your preparation for pitching to investors is, you know, there's just going to be certain unknowns, right?
Right.
So those are risks. So you know, what part of the angel investors due diligence process, we know there's going to be risks.
Mm-hmm.
So the point is to identify those risks and then figure out how we're going to address them. So, you know, you're going on a assumption or a theory that people, I don't know, I'm making this up, that people might be more comfortable getting resources online when they don't have to have the embarrassment of dealing with a person they don't know. And so you're going on that assumption, but then as you go down the line, you may learn something about how consumers want to access their services, and you'll have to make a change, and that will change your revenue model and all this kind of stuff. So I think, you know, as investors, we look at, in a way, how you think.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, you might have this model, it might show hockey stick growth or whatever, but where are the things that might go wrong in that plan? Because of course there are going to be things, you're inventing something new, and then how might you, you know, address those, the need to shift, you know, compensate for an assumption that turned out to be wrong. So that should definitely, I'm sure that's good for your business planning. And those are the kinds of, you know, questions you're going to want to be prepared for in a pitch, because investors are going to try and pick it apart because they're experimenting with how do you think and what are the risks, and they'll say, well, you know, no one's going. How do you know that people are going to, you know, want to go online for this, or how do you know that the millennial Latinos are going to go for this or whatever? And so then you'll just have to have thought through.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what are some alternative paths you might take, or what are, and just to show your thinking method, and that you'll be able to adapt as you go. And nobody's going to expect you to have all the answers up front.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So.
Anyway.
Anyway,
Thank you very much.
Anything from you? Last things from you, Renee? We have 3 minutes.
No. I've enjoyed listening and taking.
Well, I'll say thank you very much to both of you for sharing your perspective. It's kind of fun to have a small group because we can really get more than in depth. Whereas if we had, you know, more people, everyone only gets to talk a little bit. So I've enjoyed meeting both of you, and I wish you best of luck. And I hope our paths will cross again.
I hope so.
Thank you very much, Renee. I look forward to connecting with you at Hera.
Yes, thank you.
Your lesson. Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.